new Parliament building. We have assembled here today to discuss and pass a resolution congratulating our scientists, the scientific community of the country, for their glorious achievement in successfully completing the Chandrayaan Mission 3. On behalf of 1 billion Indians, and most importantly on behalf of young Indians who look up to climbing new frontiers in science and technology, I thank all the scientists of ISRO for inspiring a generation of Indians by achieving something that was considered impossible. It's only rare that in the history of a nation, moments like this come, which inspires and unites a nation. And the landing of the Chandrayaan mission on the moon was one such rare moment where the whole nation stood in unison, saluting the scientific prowess and achievement of this great country. While I am indeed proud that our country became the very first nation in the world to land successfully on the south side of the moon, I am even more proud that I represent a city which is the science capital of India, and even this mission Chandrayaan 3, while it is made in India, it was also made in Bengaluru, the city that I represent. Most speakers who have spoken earlier than me have highlighted the achievements of ISRO in the last few decades and how the scientists of ISRO have not only shown the world how to make efficient space missions, but also do it in a cost-effective manner. I wouldn't want to repeat most of the points that have been already covered. I would only want to say that the last 9 years have truly been historic for the country, even in the space and technology realm. Under the leadership of the Honorable Prime Minister, not only have we increased the budget for ISRO, budget for space exploration by a whopping 142%, we have also strengthened scientific institutions, whether it is CSIR, whether it is funding for IISc, or leveraging technology to benefit the last mile delivery of services to the people. UPI की बात हो या ई-नैम की बात हो, स्टार्टअप से लेकर सेरिकल्चर इंजीनियरिंग तक, स्पोर्ट्स इंजीनियरिंग से लेकर क्वांटम कंप्यूटिंग तक, अटल इनोवेशन मिशन से लेकर नेशनल रिसर्च फाउंडेशन तक कई सारे चीज पिछले 9 साल में मोदी सरकार ने किए हैं, जो अपने देश के साइंटिफिक इंस्टीट्यूशंस के फाउंडेशन है, इसको बलवर्धन करने के लिए हिस्टोरिक एंड रेवोल्यूशनरी चीज पिछले 9 साल में हुए. Madam, I wanted to keep my speech as apolitical as possible. I wanted to keep my speech as academic as possible. But the speakers from the opposition benches have indulged in a continuous Nehru bhajan from morning, instead of doing a bhajan of ISRO and ISRO scientists. And that is leaving me with no option but to correct and place before this honorable house, this august house, some very important facts about what was the contribution of certain figures whose hagiography is trying to be written today by members of the opposition. An impression is made to be given that everything scientific in India, all scientific achievements in India, whether it is ISRO, whether it is DRDO, whether it is CISR, whether it is IISc, every scientific achievement in India is credited to Nehru. But the reality is far from that. Madam Speaker, I want to highlight to you the fact that most of the scientific institutions that are a nation's pride today were all started by people in pre-independence India when Nehru had no role to play. And all those pioneers who had the grand vision to establish these institutions, even at the time of the British India, are not even mentioned, even cursorily, when the nation is celebrating its scientific prowess. I only want to take the example of one or two people. Kanimoyiji, I am quoting the example of Arkat Mudaliar, coming from Tamil Nadu. Please hear it out. In 1940, 1942, when India was not independent, Arkat Ramaswamy Mudaliar, he envisioned an institution by the name Council of Scientific and Industrial Research in India and established it from 1942 to 1942 with the help of Shanti Swarup Bhatnagar. Nehru had nothing to do with it. Today, most number of patents in the country are filed because of CSIR, and it is one of the most important scientific research organizations in the country, and Nehru had nothing to do with it. Let me tell you what role Nehru played. Immediately after independence, when the institute, CSIR, was brought under the Ministry of Industries and Commerce. In one of the meetings, at the very beginning of the CSIR after independence, Pandit Nehru says, the members of the governing body will appreciate that it is difficult for me to devote much time to many aspects of the work of the council. For the present everyday work, Dr. Shyama Prasad Mukherjee will, however, look after the council. It was because of Dr. Shyama Prasad Mukherjee, the founding father of my party, the earlier avatar of the Bharatiya Janata Party, Jansangh, that the country's earliest scientific establishments were strengthened and gotten strengthened at the root level. Dr. Shyama Prasad Mukherjee, as the Minister of Industries and Commerce, set up the National Physical Laboratory, National Chemical Laboratory, National Metallurgical Laboratory, Fuel Research Institute, Ceramic Research Institute, Central Leather Institute, Central Electrochemical Institute. All of these institutions were started, strengthened, and supported by Dr. Shyama Prasad Mukherjee. But today, Arkat Ramaswamy's name is not mentioned, Dr. Shyama Prasad Mukherjee's name is not mentioned, Shanti Swarup Bhatnagar's name is not mentioned. Morning till now I have been seeing it's only Nehru Bhajan that is going on. The cosmos of the Congress party starts with Nehru and ends with Rahul Gandhi. It is unfortunate, but it is necessary for us to inform the nation through this August House what Nehru truly did, even when it came to atomic research. I want to draw the attention of the members from the opposition when acquisition of missiles and research in atomic bombs, nuclear bombs, for protecting the country's national security, energy security was made to Nehru. This is what Pandit Nehru says, and I quote, the distribution of this toy, the toy that he is mentioning is the atom bomb, a nuclear bomb. The distribution of this toy, the atom bomb, ballistic missiles and the like to countries will not only be dangerous, very dangerous, but it will completely poison the already disturbed atmosphere of the world today. He goes on to then say, the making of the atom bomb is dangerous and dreadful, and he was the first person to advocate the resistance policy of excluding India and other Asian nations from the nuclear club, a policy that would later be written into the non-proliferation treaty that India would spend decades fighting, when he claimed that the going of this atomic weapon into an Asian country's hands would be a dreadful thing, a very dangerous thing. It took an Atal Bihari Vajpayee to make the nation a nuclear capable nation in 1999, 1998. It was very different. You know, Manishji, you know the details. You know how different 1974 and 1998 was. You know what was the difference, Manishji. You know what was the difference. You know what was the difference between the two. You know what was the difference between. You know what was the difference between Indiraji's time and what was Atalji's time. We never did it in an apologetic matter. We did it as a matter of conviction.
Okay.
Madam Speaker, if you look at the history, there is one thing that will be clear. काम हमेशा दूसरों का होता है, क्रेडिट तो नेहरू का होता है. Even in the case of Chandrayaan, it has been the same case. Chandrayaan first, it was our Prime Minister Atal Bihari Vajpayee who approved Chandrayaan first in 2003. What happened? It was in 2008 that the impact mission reached the moon. And then the Congress government, UPA government, what did they do? The point on which the impact rover met, they named it as Jawahar Point. When Nehru had nothing to do with Chandrayaan 1, the impact point, however, was Jawahar Point. Former ISRO chief, let us talk about Chandrayaan 2. Former ISRO chief, Madhavan Nair, has gone on record to say that for political reasons, UPA2 delayed political clearances, denied approvals for Chandrayaan 2. It was Chandrayaan 3 again, our government, Modi government, that approved Chandrayaan 3, and despite the loss, despite the challenges that we faced during Chandrayaan 2, the Prime Minister was there in Bengaluru, patting the back of our scientists, strengthened them, motivated them, and prepped them to make sure that Chandrayaan 3 was a success. The difference, Madam Speaker, is when Chandrayaan 3 met with success, the Honorable Prime Minister of the country named the point as Tiranga Point and Shiv Shakti Point, and not did bhajan of any particular individual.
Please conclude.
Madam, allow me 2-3 minutes more, please.
Please.
There are 2-3 important issues that needs to be brought to the notice of this August House. Madam Speaker, the difference between naming Tiranga Point, Shiv Shakti Point, and the naming of Jawahar Point, the worldview, the difference in the worldview is what differentiates the Congress, the India Alliance, and the Bharatiya Janata Party and the NDA Alliance. This is the difference. Madam, I want to take another example. Madam, I was listening to one of the speakers from the opposition credit Rajiv Gandhi for telecommunication and computer revolution in India. With all humility, I want to submit that the doyen of the country's computer industry and BPO industry and IT industry, N.R. Narayan Murthy, a few years ago, went on record and said that when they started Infosys, he had to travel 50 times to Delhi, and it took 3 years for him to purchase one particular computer, import one computer. This was the state of affairs of this country for entrepreneurs, for scientists who wanted to start something new. And again, the credit काम किसी ने दूसरे ने किया, credit तो राजीव गांधी को जा रहा है. Madam, I also want to point this out. The exploration of space, the quest to understand what lies in the space is not something new for this civilization. Starting from the Rig Veda to this day, the journey has been continuous. Aryabhata, Varahamihira, Bhaskara, all of them postulated theories on units of time, of understanding how the heliocentrism of the solar system works. All of these indicate the natural quest of the Indian mind to understand the secrets that lie beyond the space. Never in our history, never in our civilizational history was any scientific man or woman persecuted, hunted down for their beliefs, for their theories and postulates. Whereas in other civilizations, you will find examples of the Hypatia of Alexandria, who was stoned to death. Galileo Galilei, Nicolaus Copernicus, Johannes Kepler. Many such scientific minds were persecuted for various reasons. But this is the only civilization in the whole world where scientists and people of science have never been persecuted all through the civilizational history.
Thank you.
The only exception to this, please, madam, please give me 2 more minutes, madam. The only exception to this is the persecution of a scientist from ISRO by the Kerala Congress government, Nambi Narayan, and this is the only exception where a scientist was persecuted for political reasons by the Kerala Congress government. I also want to remind you that it was in 2013 that Honorable Prime Minister Narendra Modi, as the candidate for Prime Minister, as the BJP's candidate for Prime Minister, when he visited Thiruvananthapuram, visits Nambi Narayan, promises that the country will stand by him again. And it was in 2018, after Narendra Modi government came into power, that Nambi Narayan was given the honor of Padma Shri, Padma Bhushan, and that was how Narendra Modi government has respected, strengthened the scientific people and scientific institutions of India. Madam, I only want to conclude by saying this. Madam, many institutions are extremely important for strengthening our scientific prowess. One of them is HAL. I come from Bengaluru, and I want to tell you that just 7-8 years ago, the state of HAL was in dire distress. Today, not only is the company, the organization manufacturing LCA Tejas, but in recent meeting of the Honorable Prime Minister in Delhi, in US, along with GE, they have gotten into a memorandum of understanding to manufacture GE 414, F1414 engines with 80% technology transfer that is going to make India a superpower in this. Madam, Madam Speaker, I will conclude with just this. I will conclude in 1 minute, madam. In 1 minute. Madam, the coming decade, whether it is geopolitically, whether it is energy security, whether it is any other aspect of our national politics, our geopolitics, it is going to be directly influenced by how India performs and how India takes the lead in important areas of emerging technology. And I must credit the Narendra Modi government for making India future-proof and tomorrow ready by institutionalizing and supporting important scientific missions. I would want to read out only 4 or 5 of them. The National Quantum Enabled Science and Technology Program, National Quantum Technologies Application Program, National Research Foundation, National Supercomputer Mission, the National Green Hydrogen Mission. All of these are important programs that the government of India has undertaken to make India a pioneer in emerging technologies. One of the points that was made by Karti Chidambaram ji, one of the points that he made, a very relevant point that he made, was how to popularize science among young people and students. I want to tell him that the Modi government in the last few years has been working with a mission focus to popularize science among children. And the Atal Innovation Mission and building of 10,000 Atal Tinkering Labs in our high schools, with the objective of nurturing 10 lakh young minds who will explore the frontiers of science, is an example of how the Narendra Modi government is trying to make science and technology a popular culture in the whole country. Madam, I only want to conclude by saying this.
Please conclude, please.
I will conclude.
The other people.
Madam, all of these aspects that has taken place in the last 9 years. I mentioned UPI, Digital India, Startup India, to the startups that are now emerging in space technology. One of the most promising startups in space, called Pixel Space, is run by an Indian engineer who comes from a small town called Chikmagalur, has raised a few $1 million from Google. The boy, Awais Ahmed, is a CEO of this and hails from Chikmagalur. It is possible only because the Modi government opened the space technology space for private players. Madam, the next few decades is going to be extremely important for the country in strengthening our industrial, our scientific institutions and making India future ready, India tomorrow ready. And we are extremely fortunate that at such an important point in history, we have the leadership of Narendra Modi, who has been leading this country with such foresight and vision. I want to once again congratulate the Prime Minister for his deftful leading of this country, deftful leadership for this country at such an important time. Thank you so much, madam.
Thank you. माइक ऑन कीजिए.